Hi, in this video I'll share some key tips on getting started and maintaining progress when working towards your goals. The things I'll be sharing are great for preventing procrastination and getting unstuck, so let's go. Hi and welcome, Teresa here from LeadYourself. I'm helping you to lead your life towards more freedom and more happiness by providing insights and tips on how to improve your life when it comes to time, energy and money. If that's something that interests you, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you stay notified when new content is released on this channel, which happens every single week. This video is part of a series about setting and achieving goals for your life. If you want to watch the series from the beginning, you can do so using the link in the card above. In the last video, we looked at an overall plan on how you will be progressing on a higher level, and now it's time to get into the things that will actually make it happen. You'll be learning about how to lead yourself on a micromanagement level. And if you're anything like me and tend to procrastinate a lot, then I believe you will find it very effective. Now, for the purpose of this video, we'll be talking about your goals as projects, as the same techniques can be applied to projects of any type. So when facing a bigger project, it's sometimes very hard to know where to start. And you might even be thinking things like, I need to learn all this stuff first, or I need to plan everything in detail, or I need to save all this money before starting, or I need to wait until I have more spare time. Well, that's just your mind playing tricks on you really, making you believe that you need to do all of that stuff first before even starting your project. And many people don't even realize it. And also, most of these things are almost impossible to overcome in a short time frame. Sometimes these are valid points, but most of the time they are excuses. And even if they are valid points, there's a very simple way to not have them stand in your way of getting started. And we'll be talking about that towards the end of the video. So if you're procrastinating, maybe it's due to these kinds of thoughts and excuses, or maybe you just lack the motivation and energy to do the work. In any case, you're in the right place. Take these two people. They both have the ambition to reach the end of the line, and they both have an obstacle in the beginning. One of them starts climbing his obstacle step by step right away, while the other just stands there, contemplates, thinking about how to get his obstacle out of his way, and he never really moves. Who do you think will arrive first? Well, that's a really simplified example really, but it does show one key point. In order to get anywhere, it's essential to start moving. Yes, start moving. It seems to be so simple, but it proves to be so hard over and over again. And why is it so hard? Because we overthink it. Our minds want to know that we can finish before we even start. It's kind of a fear of failure thing. We want to succeed and we want to know that we can, and we don't want to take the risk of failing. And the irony of that is that that's precisely why we fail, because it keeps us from even trying. So what can you do about it? It's quite simple really. Just take one small step every day. Let me explain. So if your goal is to write a CV for a job application and you find it extremely hard and find yourself looking for templates and taking CV writing courses instead of actually writing anything, then you might want to take action on getting started instead. And here's a very simple action plan. Day 1, create a document. Yes, create a document. You don't have to write anything in it, just create it. That's it. It's easy, right? And day 2, list your experiences. Just list them. That's easy too, right? And from day 3 and onwards, pick one experience every day and write a short description of it. Just one per day. That should be fairly easy too, right? After this, you can worry about formatting and tweaking your CV, but at least you get started. I'm not a CV writing expert, but I think I'm proving a point. The trick is to make the very first few steps as easy and as quick as humanly possible, so that there can be no excuse for doing them. And that will get you started, and once you get started, you will be gaining momentum. So take one small step every day. This strategy can be applied to projects of any size really. When I do this for bigger projects, I tend to plan ahead for a maximum of a week or so in advance, because you need to stay flexible. And the reason for that is that even though you might be doing these things in smaller steps, once you gain that momentum, you will have a tendency to do multiple steps at once. Just because you made an initial effort to get into the flow and because progress motivates you. And that's also why it will most likely not take a huge amount of time doing it this way, even though it might look like that at first. Like, I'm gonna spend a whole day creating a document. No, that's not the point. Because yes, you start that way, and that's better than not starting at all. Just compare it to the infinite amount of time it will take if you never get started. It's infinite, it's huge. You're never gonna arrive. Or compare it to the amount of time it would take if you would do all those courses first, or save all that money first, or whatever excuse you had. Another common example is if you have decided to go running and you feel down and low on motivation one day, then just put on your clothes and your running shoes and go outside the door. That's it, just go outside the door. You're allowed to go back in again. You only committed to go outside, right? But you will most likely not do that because you have sent signals to your brain that now I'm gonna work out. And while you put on your shoes and while you walked out the door, you'll have actually programmed yourself into a state of mind that makes it so much easier to continue. I have used this trick many times whenever I didn't feel like doing something, and it works most of the time. Maybe sometimes I need to push myself a little bit further before I see it working, and the only times it doesn't really work at all is when there is a valid excuse, like being sick. But yeah, so this is how we can trick our minds into getting started, with very little commitment at first, and then just trust that momentum will follow. So make it easy for yourself, don't make it so hard, and don't overthink it. So now that we've dealt with getting up to speed, let's rewind back to all those initial excuses that we talked about in the beginning. Like, I'm gonna have to learn all this stuff first, or I'm gonna have to save all that money first, or whatever. And the first thing that you need to do is to validate that they are indeed valid excuses. And if they are, in the sense that you can't possibly complete your project without resolving them, then instead of thinking of them like prerequisites that you need to do before starting, integrate them into your project, make them part of your project. Because I'm sure that, saving money, for instance, for some people it's hard, but remember that thing about momentum. I'm sure that there are things that you can do to get started on your project without that money. It's rarely in the beginning that you need all of that stuff. Instead, start with simple things like phone calls, or looking for materials on a website, or making lists, or whatever it might need doing. Just get started and use your momentum to make the harder things easier. Imagine that you're pushing a big ball that starts rolling, and you realize that the more you can push it before you arrive at an uphill, the easier it will be for it to go up that hill. That's because the momentum and speed will give it the power to climb almost on its own. And the same is true for you and your actions. So again, integrate those excuses into your project. It's a mindset shift really, but it holds great power because it unblocks you. And the most important thing, like I said before, is start moving. Take one small step at a time and feel the gain in momentum that comes from making progress, and allow that to fuel you with energy. Get the ball rolling, and I'm sure you'll see results. You may also want to consider something like time boxing sessions when you work on your goals, so that you have 30 to 60 minutes every day that you dedicate only to progressing. Ideally even more, but make sure it fits into your life, as you want to keep going for a long time. And also remember that habits and continuously taking action is better than working 24 hours a day for a couple of days and then nothing for a long time. You need that continuity for the momentum to grow and persist. Now, if you want, you can download the companion worksheet for this video using the link in the description below. It's a bit different from the previous worksheets, as it's meant to be more like a planner/journal. It contains a 4-week habit tracker, several journaling pages with prompts, and weekly planners for time boxing. Well, that's it for today. I wish you good luck. I hope you learned something from this and that you found it valuable. This was the last video that was planned in this series. And if there is anything else that you think would make a valuable addition, then please let me know in the comments and I might just make a bonus video. Also, I read all the comments, so if you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to ask. And finally, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to stay notified when new content is released. And here are some things for you to go check out next. Now, thanks for watching, I love you so much, and I see you soon. Bye!